The Riders Republic Cutting Edge update has been out now for just over a week, and we were able to jump in to see what's what. Mitch and I rode all of the new events together, and you won't want to miss our Season 6 Week 1 review coming up next. Welcome back to the Riders Report. Before we get started here, that is not your office. We have done hundreds of episodes together, and I can say that for certain. You're not where you're supposed to be, sir.
I am at the beach. I'm visiting my parents, and before we've said it's impossible for us to record, but we're going to try it this time. We're remoting into my computer, and it should go smoothly.
Yeah, this episode will either be published on time or it will never exist because the computer never recorded it. We won't find out until this goes live on Wednesday. But for now, let's act like it's recording. Let's act like we are live to the people. And we are talking about the brand new season in Riders Republic Cutting Edge, released just a week ago, featuring eight new spectacular events. I was looking for the adjective there, but it is a new season full of competition, discoveries, and futuristic adventures. And there are some new faces and some new swag shop items around the Republic. Prada is making a triumphant return to the mountain, and I really like some of those outfits. But we're not here to talk about the outfits today. We are here to talk about the nuts and bolts, the events. We had 8 events to get through. Mitch and I teamed up in the game, partnered up, squatted up, partied up. That's the word, partied up. I'm running on a lot of caffeine. We played through the 8 events. So without further ado, we're going to go through the 8 events, give you the rundown of our first impressions of these events, and then we're going to get into the hoverboard and whether or not we think this season is worth the additional purchase. So let's get into it here. Let's start out with the drop. Or, I mean, if you have any generic, overview before we dive into this, anything to say about the season, please.
I would just say, it's broken into 2 parts that you can purchase in the Riders Republic shop. So the first one's the Ridge Ultimate Pack, which is 2,000 Rider Coin or RC. And you get a few new outfits, the 8 spectacular events we're going to talk about. And then the hoverboard will be releasing the day this episode releases. And I believe it's 1,500 RC. So I've only tested that a bit. You could try it in the Tricks Academy. And so far, it's pretty much like the snow skate, but you can use it all around. And there are new tricks and new animations. So I'll be happy to play it in other places, not just on snow. It should give you some more variety.
Yeah, both of these sports kind of feel like another sport. It's right on the tip of my tongue. What does that feel like? I mean, it's short. The board's not as long. It's not as long as a snowboard. Nah, not wakeboarding. It's not as long as a snowboard. It's still one. There's no bindings on it. It's about shoulder width. 4 wheels. No, it's not coming to me.
It's a skateboard.
It's a skate. It kind of feels like a skateboard, which is interesting. We've said in the past how, we don't know if skateboard's the right path for the game to take. We can see them doing it 100%, especially since they have 2 sports that feel like they're testing out the physics of skateboarding. But yeah, how they implement that in the game, if skateboarding is in the plan in the future, has yet to be seen. But we'll enjoy the hoverboard while we have it, and along with these 8 events that we were able to play before the episode went out this week. Next week, we'll be able to talk a little more about this hoverboard. But, sorry.
No, I was just to add to for people. When we played this, I had the Ridge Ultimate Pack, Nick didn't, and we were still able to play together. So as long as I know the party leader, I don't know if anyone can, as long as one person in the party has the pack and starts the event in versus, everyone in the party can play, which is nice considering the cost of it. So we were able to go through all 8 of these events together.
Yeah, and there was nothing that I missed out on. Like every single part of the event, I was able to access. So yeah, that's a little hack there in the game. But go try it out for yourself. Find a buddy who has the Ridge Ultimate Pack first, maybe before you buy it. Try them out, see if it's worth it for you. I really liked some of these events, and we've talked about it in all of our speculation. This season feels like a very fast, very intense, and extreme drop for these events. And a lot of the bike events were just that. They were super extreme. Some of them were just unrealistically fast, and I was here for every single second of it.
The drop was the first one we played through I don't know, the order that they kind of intend you to play through. And it was a bike race through Bryce Canyon. So you get to drop down from the name into, and then you're squeezing through all of those little formations in Bryce. There were some really cool sections where they had walls set up with the fans kind of watching and just squeezing you into impossibly tight corners. There's another event that's somewhat like it, but this one was really fun to play through. I mean, it brings back memories of playing through the game for the first time because the level design of all of the events were so cool, and the drop went right back to that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Definitely a technical track. For those who like racing, this is not just a run and gun. You're holding sprint the entire time. You did need to feather the brakes. You needed to implement some strategy here in this. So definitely a little more immersive than just a regular and easier track. But yeah, like Mitch said, it really did evoke the emotions that we had when we saw the game, at launch. This was just fast, in your face. It was wonderful. It was great to do it in first person. I did it in first person. I did not do it in third. So I wonder how the experience changes, if it would be easier or harder in third. But I did find the tracking to be very challenging at points. And I liked that. It played into nature. It played into, hey, you're not going to have these big chicane signs showing you, or chevrons, to turn left or to turn right at this moment. You're going to have to follow the formations, and maybe there's one strip of ribbon, or one rope along the sides, like you see in downhill technical events in real life. So you did have to be heads up for the entire thing.
Yeah. And then the next one, it took us up into Yosemite, into kind of the Bottom Valley area, where we had air bowling, which was an all wood park focused on BMX, on the road BMX or the street BMX. And it was a really nicely designed park. It kind of gives you a skate park vibe too, but super cool that that's something that they put in a section of the map that didn't have too much going on right now. So they've actually been adding in some parks, kind of like Area 52, but on a smaller scale. Also going more towards, though, like an actual competition that you would see, like an X Games or a Vans Tour event. This was a park that was purpose-built for some of this action.
Yeah, there were so many flow lines that you could pick out in this bowl area. And I really did enjoy, they mixed some nature elements into this very concrete, dominated park. There was concrete and wood, but you did get a sense that this was man-made. It wasn't these natural installations, but there was a tree that they did not move. They purposely left in the middle of one of the bowls, and they built, little ramps up around this tree. So that was a really cool element to mix in. I had a lot of fun searching for that tree during my line, and trying to hit it just right, trying to bonk off of the tree if you could. That just added another element. It didn't feel like you were in the middle of a city. It still felt like you were in the vastness of a national U.S. park. But you were in a bowl. It was wonderful. I loved this setting.
Yeah, it was really cool. The tree was the highlight, obviously, because you could do some cool tricks on it if you're capable of doing cool tricks, which we are not. I'm sure we'll see some cool highlights from people that were tapping off the tree or jumping over the tree if they can carry enough speed.
Now, we are not the best tricksters, but each of us can land and grind a rail. And the next event was purpose-built for rails. It was called Grind On. This is a snowboard and ski event. It was just a wild, it kind of felt like a mass race on Mammoth Mountain, with just grinds for days.
It was, when we saw the trailer, we weren't sure if this was a race or a tricks event. It was a tricks event. It starts off a little more tame, but then once you get down to the end, there are so many rails that are either being suspended in the sky by cables bolted into the rock formations on each side, or down below and jumping. I think I said it was a zoo. It just got nuts at some point. You couldn't not land on a rail, but it was one of those out of the box, super wild designs. One that a Shack Daddy Bandit would come up with when they're stranded in this place for years and years with nothing to do.
100%. Yeah. And was this the one with the the plane, or no? I'm thinking of
No,
a different
that's
one.
later on.
Okay, all right, we'll get there. Oh, that's right. I see the title of the event down there.
Mhm.
But yeah, grind on. You did, and you did not emphasize your phrase properly. We hit this event. We ran it once. We ran all of these once through, and we get to that section. So you have your flow. You're hitting all of your tricks, getting your counter up, getting the multiplier, all that good stuff, and then you hit this final grind section where you actively have to try and avoid grinding something. Like, it is just, I've never had a multiplier go higher than it did in this section. I thought the ticker, I thought it was going to go supersonic and I was not going to be able to hear it anymore. But as we were doing this, I go silent, and I wish we recorded our audio. I go silent and you just hear me go, oh my gosh. And Mitch exhales, exhales and just goes, oh, this is a zoo. Just, it was absolute madness. It was such a fun event. It felt like a tricks battle built in, bolted onto the side of the mountain in the game. I mean, it was wonderful. If nothing else, this was a showstopper. I don't know if this one alone is worth 2,000 RC, but if I had to pay for any one of these events, it would be Grind On.
Yeah, it was a really, really cool setup. And then after that one, it took us to Sequoia with Downhill, which was a bike race. And Sequoia's always been a really fun place to do bike races because of all the trees, and they have the ropes. But it turns into those really tight sections where you have to think 3 turns ahead and really hammer the brakes to kind of drift the first one and then immediately the second one. So that one could be fun. I think as you play it more and more, because you'll learn the track and learn which kind of corners you have to take and the appropriate speed to not just absolutely eat or go off track.
Yeah, it is fun. You can definitely stumble your way through this track blind, but not having not raced it before. But like you said, as you get repetitions in this event in Downhill, you're going to find those racing lines. You're going to find the braking points. You're going to find the perfect apex of each turn. And this one is just launched out of a cannon. I mean, lightning fast, super technical, even more. I don't know if the turns were more technical than the drop in Bryce Canyon, but they were definitely faster. They were way more intense. You had a lot of 180s, hairpin turns where your bike was darn near sideways on one of those turn walls. Yeah, this one was a ton of fun. I ended up, I think I finished 40 seconds behind you because I ran off the trail 3 or 4 times. That was just how fast my bike was going. I could not handle the speed. So going back, I will have to throttle that brake a little bit more and like you said, learn those drift points.
Yeah. And then we went right to another bike race in Bryce Canyon Full Moon Party, which had one of the best settings in the game. It's at nighttime. You have hot air balloons all around that are kind of lit up by the flame. I think we saw a camera guy in one of them, which I was freaking out about because he was really close to a jump. And it was like some of the settings where we have the bike race going downhill during the storm. So you have the trees and the ambulance where they really set a mood. And then you get to the massive roller coaster sections where they've just built these massive wooden platforms jutting out of Bryce Canyon so that you can ride the bike and do some jumps. And it was such a cool setup.
Yeah, this was another one that I was not able to. Mitch is like, oh, cool, I hit the roller coaster section. I'm like, what are you talking about? And you need to build speed to just clear this massive gap. And I did not have that speed because, again, spoiler, I ran off the track. So I bled all of my speed. I had to go backtrack, gain the speed again, and rejoin him on the track. This one was a ton of fun, but I don't think it holds a light to the next race that we did, the ski event, Bad Landing. This is the one that plays into the lore that we have been generating on our channel surrounding the plane crash that brought Brett, Suki, and all of the other riders to the game. This one is called Bad Landing. It takes place in Grand Teton.
We finally got more events in Grand Teton for our skiers, and it started off like one of those ultra naturals with couple wood ramps and features, but then they got pretty big and I had problems landing on the upper decks of those. So I spent a lot of time below them. For some reason, I couldn't jump off of the snow. So you'll see that in the video. But then you do get to the airplane section where there's the wreck of an airplane. You go through the tail body and then you can grind or jump off of the tail into a massive drop. So they're hinting a little bit, maybe more of the lore. There's a plane crash in Grand Teton, and we talked about that. But happy to have some more, ski events and snow events up in the north section of this park.
Yeah, absolutely. You were calling for more events up in Grand Teton, and they delivered. I feel like these two hold their own, and they really fill the space up there on the mountain. We're going to have to go and explore and see if there are any nods or Easter eggs. Maybe there's a Nick and Mitch Easter egg on one of those plane parts. If you find it before us, let us know down in the comments. The next one, also featured in Grand Teton, Snow Scraper was another ski trick event up on the mountain.
And this one was steep. That's both of us thought this reminded of steep and the backcountry glaciers that we had on the first map in the Alps, because I play with the HUD off for recording for the most part. So I couldn't tell which events were races and tricks events. And when we started, all I saw was the finish line, but I didn't see any built jumps or rails. Yeah. So I was like, what kind of event is this? And you had to tell me it's a tricks one. So you just spend time jumping off of the different snowbanks and formations as you go down.
Yeah, snowbanks, whether those were on rocks or like little avalanche fences, whatever. They were difficult to see. It was a fun line to find. But yeah, it just felt like that classic steep. We are just here to have fun and do whatever the mountain is going to guide us to do. Whatever direction I land in is the direction I will head and inevitably find my next jump for the line. I loved Snow Scraper just as a more relaxing tricks event. Really get to show off your skills in the natural valley of Grand Teton.
And then we got to the final one called Dirty Business, which went back to Yosemite and back to the BMX. And it was a tricks event for BMX, but the dirt one, because it was all built out of dirt except for a couple loop sections. And during the trailer last week, we thought maybe the wood park and the dirt park were combined, but they were separate and they were two different events. So we got to get more use out of the dirt BMX, which we received back during the bike career.
Yeah, kind of felt like the wave formation down in the desert portion, the bottom right portion of the map, but way more. They were a lot closer. You would have to try, much like Grind On, you would have to try to avoid one of these ramps, one of these bowls. Everything that you had was just right at your fingertips. The line never ended for the entire 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 2-minute session. It was nonstop action. You lined up the loop-de-loop and then got right back to it. Another one, tons of fun. Can't wait to see competitions. A lot of these events feel like actual competitions. Like we could host a TFG event in Dirty Business, in Snow Scraper, in Grind On. They were a lot of fun. They felt like they had different chapters, beginning, middle, and end. They told a story the best they could. Overall, I was really pleased with these events. They really pushed everything to the limit and kind of brought the game away from that arcadey side that we got with Area 52 back into the real world of integrating with nature, not just man-made shock features.
Yeah, they did a really good job of building all of these events. Felt just like the ones that got at the very start of the game, whether they were incorporating nature or built only in nature or a park that still respects the nature around it. They've always been great at that level design for these events. The races, I remember when the game came out, we didn't care about the tricks or even any of the snow sports. The bike races were one of the best things, and they show that they can still make events like that. I didn't see that as much when we got the jumbo bike races and some of those other funkies where we got the special events added in. Didn't have the same feeling as this pack does.
I mean, overall, you happy with the pack?
I would say I love all of the events. One of the thoughts that kind of comes to my head, the first year we had the year 1 pass where you paid and then you got 4 seasons with different content. They had a bit of a timeline laid out. Now that this is season 6 and we're not in a year 2 pass. They haven't mentioned a year 2 pass. I don't know if they're testing how they're going to proceed forward with the future of the game, but I do think the price point is too high. For $20, you get these 8 events, you get some outfits, and then you get the season progression stuff. So there's more unlocks for you. But I think the hoverboard's separate still. So the hoverboard will be another $15 outside of this pack.
Wow.
So you're looking at $35 for this season, $20 just for these 8 events. I know since Ubisoft was doing the restructuring, I don't know if now they're testing how much is too much, or a lot of times in games that have all these passes, they survive off of the 1% of people that spend hundreds of dollars and buy everything and buy a lot. So I'm wondering if they're seeing if there's anyone like that left that'll pay $35 every season, or if it's time like to backscale. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes 100% sense. When I was in college for audio editing and audio recording, when I would EQ a track, I would take, the low end of the fader, whatever, 20 hertz, whatever, and I would push it up the whole way, and I would pull it down the whole way. Now I'd figure, and then you find that middle. You kind of balance it in. So obviously, the low end, if you pull the fader the whole way down, the game is free, right? The DLC is free. Can't do that. So let's pull it up a little. It might not be the whole way up, but let's pull it to what we perceive as the max. And we'll see how people how this is affected. What does this look like? Are people purchasing it? And then maybe they do dial it down. Maybe the next season is a little cheaper. I'm not sure. Yeah, that it is interesting to see how they are doing this right now. I don't know if this is, if every single pack or every single piece of additional DLC is going to be at this $20 price point. I do hope it goes down, but also we have some holidays coming up here in the US, so we might see some things drop down on sale in the coming months in the summer.
That's another, I won't say tactic, but I've seen that with Ubisoft and some of the other games where the DLC when it comes out or the new packs are expensive, but they're always on sale. Every month they're on sale. I mean, just a few weeks ago, I think Riders Republic was $15 on the PlayStation Store for the base game, and like $25 for that base game plus year one.
Right.
So they, get that initial boost in people who will buy the $20 pack, and then in a month or two, they'll have it on sale for $5 or $10, and then the rest of the player base will jump in at that point because it's a deal and it's cheap, when that could have been the price point at the beginning. But this at least gives them an idea of who's still sticking around in the game. And that might help decide like whether or not this does last the 5 years that they initially planned to. Because after the game was developed, I'm sure they lost a lot of the support studios that worked on the game, where you had Kiev and you had like several other Ubisoft studios helping the development. I'm sure now it's mostly some of the core at ANSI and then a couple other people, but everyone else is working on other new projects. So it's a smaller team, and they're seeing, do we still keep them working on this, or do we start spreading them out more?
Yeah, and this is a conversation that has been a hot topic in the past week since the season has released. Head over to the Riders Republic Twitter page, head over to the subreddit, and you will definitely find conversations in the comments about pros and cons of the latest season. Of course, obviously, we want to hear from you and what your thoughts are on Season 6, Cutting Edge. And I think that this will be a revisited topic down the road, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, where the dust from the release settles and everyone has the proper time to get into this update. And then we can discuss again, do we think definitively, is this worth it? Is this worth the actual coin? But yeah, let us know down in the comments what your initial thoughts are following week 1. We will have hoverboard discussions for you next week once we have a week to play those. Those should, if everything goes according to plan, those should be out today. So if you're really itching for the hoverboard, now is the time. Strike while the iron's hot. Get it on day 1. And again, let us know down in the comments what you think about hoverboards as well. Maybe we'll be able to use some of your thoughts and opinions in next week's episode. Mitch, anything to wrap up this week's episode? Any last thoughts?
I don't have any. Do you?
Nope. I have an outro for you. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 70 out of our first 100 guaranteed episodes. I had to do a double take. We've made it to 70 episodes. And again, we're not doing the Riders Roundup this week. We didn't do news. We're trying to keep it short. Mitch is at the beach. He has some seashells to go find. But special thanks goes out to our YouTube members as well. Thank you to our executive producers, Bone Crusher 2D, Coach 34, Mama Bell, along with our co-producer, Captain Snowbeard, and our fans and fans plus.
And if you want to become a member, you will help support the channel. Let us do some really cool stuff with all of our assets and intros. Hit join down below and you'll get cool perks as well, like early access to the show, emojis, badges, members only videos, sneak peeks, and much more. And if not, just subscribe to the channel. We are at or almost over our old YouTube channel from years ago. And when we hit 2,000, we want to do a stream and a video where we watch all of our super old embarrassing YouTube videos that have been on the internet for 10 or 15 years on different channels. So that's gaining speed. That could happen by the end of the year. So just subscribe.
I mean, we're talking like early Grand Theft Auto Online, GTA 6 Online, or GTA 5.
We're talking high school, like sociology project level videos.
Like, yeah. That is going to be the cringiest piece of content that we make ever. It's going to be going back and watching our assets try and play games back in high school. It was rough. We really thought we were Achievement Hunter at Rooster Teeth, or we'd name another channel from the early 2010s. But yeah, that will be coming soon. Thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel, help us get there, so we can all enjoy that very cringe fest rewatch of the of Nick and Mitch history. Sorry, I'm rambling. It's time to go. We'll see you in same place, same time next week for episode 71 of the Riders Report. I'm Nick.
And I'm Mitch.
And we'll see you on the slopes.